One. Welcome to Your Business Starters Business Spotlight interview. We are here today with the phenomenal, awesome, I would call her an expert in her field, Miss Sheila Hinton. Sheila, welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you.
I'm so glad to have you here with me today. I'm excited, Sheila, because I really want to talk about some of the great things that you are doing in the grant writing space. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Sheila.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you this morning. My name is Sheila Hinton. I am a grant specialist. I help people to obtain money for their organizations. And I've been doing this for about 3 years now. Before that, I was a high school teacher. I taught a high school teacher, 9th through 12th grade. And I taught business education in the high school setting where the students took their computer technology courses as well as business and personal finance.
Thank you, Sheila. So what was the leap for you like in transitioning from being a high school educator into grant writing?
Well, actually, it was a natural transition in that I was already working with several nonprofit organizations as a board member. And so nonprofits are businesses as well. You know, they have to have a business structure, report to the IRS, and also manage their funds. So it was a natural transition.
Okay. So you work with many nonprofit organizations in your area. You mentioned you were on the boards of some. So tell me a little bit about nonprofits before we really dive into the grant writing profit, because here's my specific question. Some people think that the reason for starting a nonprofit, I've heard people say this to me, so I'm just kind of repeating it, but that they're starting their nonprofit to service the community. And others will say, well, I don't want to start a nonprofit because I won't make any money as a business owner and I can't quit my 9-to-5 and start a nonprofit. Can you kind of touch on that space?
Yes, I sat on the board for Habitat for Humanity. I want to use an example that most people can relate to. Habitat for Humanity builds homes for low-income people, and they actually have a selection process that allows the average person that wants to have a home to get a home. Some area Habitat for Humanity associations actually build up to 10 homes per year. So they have a staff of people. They pay their directors very well. So you can build your nonprofit to more than supplement your regular annual income when you build it the right way and solicit the right funding.
And that's actually where you come in terms of the right way, making sure things are done according to the requirements and the guidelines. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you started in writing grants initially? What was your genesis in this entire process? Do you remember your first grant?
I do. My first grant was a Hewlett-Packard grant as a teacher.
Okay.
And so that's how I started writing grants. Teachers cannot fund their classrooms. The state cannot fund their classrooms. The city or county that they're teaching in cannot fund all the needs of their classroom. Having a technology-based classroom, I needed a lot of technology and a lot of supplemental resources. And so I started going after educational grants, and my first grant was a $45,000 grant for my classroom from Hewlett-Packard. And it came with a wealth of supplies for the students, with cameras, with printers, with a Hewlett-Packard learning station where the students were able to specialize in Hewlett-Packard software and hardware. I also taught digital photography, so it came with a lot of digital photography supplies, and was able to outfit each student with their own digital camera. So it was a wonderful first grant to win.
That was an amazing first grant to win. That's awesome, Sheila. That's awesome. So how long did the grant, or let me just ask you generally, how long is the grant period? Is there an amount of time that you have to spend the money?
It depends on the grantor. That is the organization or individual that you receive the grant from.
Okay.
They specify the timeline as well as the guidelines.
Okay.
You know that going into a grant, and so whatever the application process is will tell you when you're going to get the award, how much the award is, but you tell them what you're going to do with it. That's the reason why the grant application exists. You actually say what you want the money for, what you're going to use the money for, and usually within 12 months, 6 to 12 months, you will have to do a report to that organization to let them know I did what I said I was going to do with the money.
Okay. Now, in doing a little research, Sheila, I learned that there are several different types of grants. And I don't mean the use of the grant, but just the types of grants. And you're the expert, so I know you get this. Can you kind of elaborate on a few, at least maybe the more common types of grants that you're familiar with?
I would say that there are national grants, there are government grants, there are local foundation grants, national foundation grants, and I'll give you an example in each one of those areas. For example, business grants might be housing and urban development. It may be the USDA building grant, where you're going to need a building, build a property out for homeless capacity to serve the homeless in your community. That would be one example. You're going to need a lot of funds to be able to do that, and there are government grants that may be available for that. Another tier down from that may be an organization that is like a foundation. For example, let's say Beyonce as well as Venus Williams, the tennis player. They both have foundations where they offer grants that may be $10, $15, $50,000 for different community events. Some of those they offer.
I'm sorry.
Some of those grants are regional or geographically specific. So they may target a big metropolitan area like Atlanta, Minneapolis, St. Paul, New York City, Los Angeles, California, Dallas, Texas. So you want to look for grants that are for your specific area and look under the eligibility guidelines first.
Okay.
Also, your city economic development center may have grants available in your specific community for what your community may be looking to develop. Maybe there's a lot of dilapidated buildings in your downtown area, and there's a revitalization project that's taking place, and they may offer grants where they offer you business training, they offer you storefront supplements to be able to paint the front of the building, to replace windows that may have been knocked out, to be able to supplement maybe the first 3 months of expenses going into the building, and really set you up for success. So those types of grants are out there, as well as your local Elks Club, Elks Lodge.
Wow. I would never have thought about those types of grants, but yes. Elks Lodge also has grants.
Every Elks Lodge in every community offers community grants. And normally they start at $2,500, and they're relatively easy to get in that they have a rolling open window. In other words, you can apply on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. You don't have to wait sometimes until the next year.
So Sheila, it sounds like there's so many sources out there places that maybe the average person may not know to go and check out a grant, to locate a grant. So, I mean, when I think of grants, I think of maybe I go to grants.gov or some government related website to see what's out there. But with Sheila Writes Grants, your business, and let's talk about that a little bit, you actually do the research, right?
Yes.
Up front. So you
Yes.
take the guesswork out of me or anybody looking for a grant, trying to figure out, well, where do I source this grant?
That is correct. I pound the pavement.
You pound the pavement.
I pound the pavement for the customer, and I try to find at least 10 grants initially.
Okay.
When I take on a client, I try to find 10 grants. They are a mixture of local and national grants that particular entity would be able to apply for based on what their mission or vision is that they are fulfilling in their community. Every Walmart has a grant that's offered to the community.
Walmart has grants?
Every Walmart, every Home Depot, every Lowe's has a grant component. So there are grants in your community that people don't realize are out there that they can apply for on a rolling basis.
So let's take a step back. So are you saying that a Walmart, and there are two things I'm asking here. So Walmart has a grant division where, as a small business owner, I can apply for a grant. But then Walmart also may have a nonprofit arm of the business where maybe money in their business they're using to support grant writing. Is that, or grants, is that correct? Or
Walmart does not offer grants to for-profit businesses.
Nonprofit businesses, right?
For-profit. If you're in business to make a profit, Walmart will not offer you a grant.
Right, but for nonprofit,
they will only offer grants to nonprofit 501c3 designated businesses.
okay.
Then you are eligible to apply for a grant through Walmart.
Got it. Okay. Okay. But now there are also some large corporations who have a nonprofit arm in their business as well. And those companies will have grants or will secure grants to further their mission and their vision in the nonprofit segment, correct, of their business.
That is correct. There are some large corporations that have foundations. A great example of that is Microsoft.
Okay.
You have the Bill and Melinda Gates
Foundation. Yeah.
Okay. And so that foundation serves the purpose of supplying grants for the community. And they offer some large grants, and they're particular about the platforms that they support, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not impossible to obtain a Bill or Melinda Gates Foundation grant. You just really have to have your strategic program outlined. The budget is going to be very specific because that fiduciary responsibility, the responsibility for the money, is the main component of applying for any grant. And the larger the grant, the more you're going to need to have someone designated with credentialing in order to handle that money, because it is free money, okay, but it's not money that you do not have to account for.
Okay, let me ask you something. I was speaking with another business owner who has a student who's in college this year, starting her first year of college. And their question to me was, what is, and I'll pose this to you, Sheila, the expert, Sheila Writes Grants. So I'll pose this to you. If they have a student in college and they are applying for a Pell Grant, everybody knows about Pell Grants for college, then is that the same thing as applying for a grant for education for their student? Or can they apply for a grant outside of a Pell Grant?
They can apply for any grant that is available. Grants or scholarships do not have to be repaid. So there are a lot of grants in your local area. Once again, there are foundations in your local area. Depending on where you're situated geographically, that offer scholarships and grants to college students. There are some amazing stories of college students obtaining $200,000-$300,000
Wow.
in grant and scholarship money.
Okay.
You just have to, my advice to anyone that needs grants and scholarships for their kids is to set up an assembly line just like a business. You have the application, you have the reference letters, you have the transcripts, you're going to have the personal statement, and you're going to have those envelopes.
Okay.
And you're going to go down and you're going to pick each one and stuff that envelope. You're going to go down and stuff that envelope. Now, you may have to have a little bit of money involved in that the transcripts, you may only be able to get so many from the guidance department before they charge you, maybe $5 or $3 each.
Right.
You're going to have to take care of the postage. You're going to have to take care of the copying. You're going to have to do the legwork to get the people that do your references to not do a canned generic letter, but to do a different letter that caters to each particular grant or scholarship. And your letter or your story that you're going to include with that may need to be a little bit different for each scholarship or grant that you apply for as well. One may focus on community service and another may focus on academia.
Okay. Okay. So students can apply for grants for their education, their personal education as well, it sounds like.
Absolutely. And there is no limit to what you can apply for, and there is no limit to what you can receive.
Okay. That is really good news. So for the people who are listening, yes, that the answer is yes. You can apply for a Pell Grant as well as locating outside grants. But Sheila writes grants. Sheila is on with us today. You take the guesswork out of all of that. So there is no need for everybody to pound the pavement looking for those grants. That is a part of what Sheila offers. And can you tell us now, Sheila, a little bit about what your services are with Sheila Writes Grants?
Yes, I like to look at it in 3 phases. 4 if you don't have your 501c3 established. So, I can assist you with establishing that and what I call vetting your board of directors, because people want to have family members, they want to have friends, and sometimes they're not always the best fit for a board of director position within your organization. So I can help you to say no when you need to say no to certain people that you want to have on your board.
Right.
The 3 parts, if you are already set up with your 501c3, of course, is searching for the right grants for your organization, because you want to apply for grants that you have a high probability of competing for.
Okay.
So the research for that, the next phase is the application process and what program you want to put forward to go after that grant. Is it an after-school program? Is it a tutorial program? Is it a homelessness program? Is it a literacy helping kids to read program? Is it a book a month program? Is it a clothing bank? Is it a food bank? So, you're going to have to know what programs you're asking someone to give you money to fund.
Right.
And then on the backside of that is hopefully once you get a grant award, is being able to manage the money for that award. And I can assist you with making sure that you meet that fiduciary responsibility in handling the money, in making sure that you have a treasurer that can track all of that funding. And you're going to need to take photos along the way of whatever it is that you're doing, because your grant funders, they want to be recognized. They're giving you free money.
Right.
You're going to have to take photos. You're going to have to give them shouts out on your social media. You're going to have to contact your local newspaper and let them know that Walmart, gave you this grant. And, so you're going to take a picture for the newspaper with one of those big, fake paper checks. And, you're going to do everything that you can to build up the organization that gave you the grant. And then you're going to do either a halfway through the year report or an end of the year report that just closes everything out and says that we did what we said we were going to do with the money. Thank you so very much. Here's pictures of the kids or the adults and how they benefited and their lives were changed by this funding. And can we get some more next year, please? And thank you.
Right. You want to tell the story of how you successfully use the money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
And that you want some more of their money.
And that you want some more. And that because you were a good steward of the money, please give me more next year.
Please give me more. Yes,
Right.
This is an ongoing program. And some grant organizations will put you in rotation and at the front of the line for annual grants. When you're doing great work in the community and they're getting their publicity and people are letting them know that, they're contacting them and applying because of the publicity where you promoted them, then they will, give you annual grant windows up to like 3 to 5 years in some grants.
That's amazing, Sheila. So there is so much out there, so many grants out there, so many types of grants out there. The next thing is just to apply. We're going to talk about that in our next segment, what people should know about how to start, what documentation we need to get submitted over to Sheila with Sheila Writes Grants. Sheila, give us your contact information. How can we reach you?
You can reach me by phone. My phone number is 864-617-4261. And you can also reach me at SheilaWritesGrants@gmail.com. And Sheila is spelled SHEILA, writesgrants@gmail.com.
Sheila Hinton, everybody. Thank you so much, Sheila.
Thank you for having me.